Hey guys and gals, Joe here with the INC, the guy who always makes weight. I stumbled my intro a bit there, but that's fine. I'm here to talk about UFC 310. Honestly, I thought this card was better than the last one, and this card was honestly pretty fun. It had me on the edge of my seat. I was invested the entire main card. The prelims were fun enough. One fight was depressing. Two fights were a little depressing. But you know what? Let's not even just keep jabbing on about enough talk. Let's get to the fights. Main event. Probably funny, it's the main event, but it's the second biggest talking point. Alexandre Pantoja takes on Kai Asakura in a very, very, very fun flyweight title fight. That first round was really awesome. A lot of good striking back and forth. Pantoja showing off probably the probably the best chin in the game right now. Taking a huge knee, good knees to the body. Kai Asakura looked very good in there, but Pantoja looked very good in there also, putting on the pressure, trying to break Kai Asakura, trying to get the fight to the ground when he could. In the second round, there was a brief clinch up, and once he kind of got the back in the clinch, instantly jumped in, took the back, the fight to the mat, instant body triangle, and it was basically over from there. You know, Pantoja has kind of a small reputation of being a backpack at times. But no, here he got that choke clean in, and Kai Sakura tapped out with like the last of his energy. He was like fading very quickly. It's a technical submission win, but you can see him go for the tap with like his last moments of consciousness at the end there. And Kai Sakura, this was his debut. Comes from Ryzen and debut gets a title fight. It's kind of awesome. And I want to see more of him because he was very, very fun in here. I liked him in Ryzen. I liked him here, and I thought his knees were a very fun and effective weapon for Pantoja to try and fight around, who's normally very aggressive, wants doesn't mind changing levels, wants to jump in and clinch, and while throwing some strikes. So him potentially running into knees is very, very fun here. Uh, but Pantoja, there we go. Now it's like Kai France, who's probably next, mostly because Royval deserves it. Like Kai France is who I'm gonna predict they go with next because he hasn't fought Pantoja before. So they kind of want maybe a fresh face in there. Similar situation when they went with Steve Ursig, earlier in the year. So we'll see. But Royval probably deserves it next. Flyweight, flyweight's awesome right now, right? Pantoja is just so dominant. He is right now the clear number two flyweight ever for me, behind Mighty Mouse. Pantoja is just no one talks about him as a pound for pound great. You could probably argue he is the best pound for pound fighter on the planet right now. But now we have the co-main event, the biggest talking point, which is Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry. And this fight, without context, is very boring. With context, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I loved it. So I had Shavkat winning the fight. Right, going in, I thought he was going to finish him. I was really curious to see if he finished him within 3 rounds, because that would mean his like beating guys under 3 rounds, finishing everybody would end. But he didn't get the finish here. He wins a unanimous decision, 48-47. I think it's 48-47, 49-46 also makes sense because I think round three, for the control time, you can give to Shavkat a lot of clinching against the cage, a lot of knees up the middle to the body. Whereas Ian and good right hands as well in there. Ian Garry was mostly going with the kicks, the low kicks specifically, going with the oblique kick or the outside low kick to the calf. The oblique kicks were definitely adding up, and I was getting really worried about that. But in round five, like, because when the fight finally got to the mat in round four, right, and because Shavkat wasn't changing levels on him, he was just clinching up, trying to work the rows and trying to see what he can get, and definitely Ian Garry having prior knowledge of him going into this fight, due to them being former training partners, really helped out, I think, in there a lot because he was able to avoid the ground. He was getting beaten up in the clinch a little bit with the knees to the body, and he had some markings under his face from some right hands. So he took a nasty spinning back kick, actually, pretty well. Tough kid. Because he didn't take a ton of big shots, but the big shots he did, I was like, ooh. Um, but yeah, Shavkat, finally got him down to the ground in round four, and he wasn't impressing me with what he was doing off of his back. He was just body triangling him to avoid, like, you're not going to be able to, like, I'm of the belief, this is just me. This is the kind of mentality I had when I was grappling, was there's the three S's: submit, sweep, or stand up. Uh, and he found a fourth one, which is stall. Because when you get the body triangle off your back, you're ensuring your opponent isn't going to be able to escape your guard. So from there, you're not threatening with any offense. You can't necessarily control his posture very well, but he's not going to pass guard. But in MMA, you can posture up and start smashing down with hammer fists and punches and elbows. And we saw Shavkat kind of doing that. Gary was defending them pretty well, but he was still eating shots off of his back. And then Ian Gary, in a scramble in round five, takes the back, takes a body triangle, and starts going for chokes. And I was panicking because I am very high on the Shavkat thing. I think this is a good win for Shavkat because you want. I think I needed to see Curtis Blade. I think as fans, we need to see Curtis Blades uh like fight Aspinall the first time and have Aspinall's leg shatter. I think we needed to see Taporia get clobbered by Jai Herbert and come back for the win. And I think we needed to see Shavkat have some difficulties here as well, because these are the three unicorns right now on the sport. I can't remember. Still trying to get used to where it's at on this new computer. These are the three unicorns right now on the sport, right? So for me, you need to kind of take some of the god aura away from them. So the fall isn't just boom. Like Anderson Silva was a unicorn of his time. You know what I mean? GSP was as well. And GSP, I mean, all time great. One or two, pick your order, I say. It's him and Aldo. Aldo, another unicorn of his time. Those guys had hard fights. Those guys had very competitive fights, and it really helped out their aura and made them more interesting for the common guy to get into them. These guys who just come in and just smoke everybody and never face like a real challenge, um, those don't really exist in MMA, and I theorize that they wouldn't be. Like, I feel like I'm always afraid of that Tyson pre Buster Douglas, where he was barely selling fights because everybody knows he would just win in like a minute. So I think this is good. I think this is a good thing. But Ian Gary nearly took the back, nearly got a rear naked choke a couple times. Shavkat reverses position, hits on top, and isn't able to do much. So I'm going to give Ian Gary round five. Round three, Ian Gary had better success on the feet, but he was still getting controlled. So I kind of lean towards Shavkat, but I understand someone picking Ian Gary in that round. For me, it's 4 rounds or 3 rounds. Very clear to me, at minimum 3 rounds for Shavkat against Ian Gary, who earned a lot of respect from me. I'm not an Ian Gary fan. I don't like him necessarily as a personality. He's very annoying to me. Uh, he's very easy to make fun of, which doesn't help, sadly. Like, it should, like, guys who are easy to make fun of, I should be like, oh, no, I feel bad for the guy. I still do feel bad for the guy, how easy it is to make fun of him. But at the same time, it's also like, ah, he just does things that annoy me. Like, so I had a ton of respect for him, and afterwards he was like, I only lost because of an opinion. You lost because of thousands of opinions, buddy. Uh, because God forbid the judges picked you and you had four opinions thinking you won that night. Because we all saw what happened in the fight prior. This is the last thing I'll say before I do the quick rundown. Cyril Gahn got a really, really, really bad decision went over Alexander Volkov in a decent fight. Round one was Cyril Gahn, round two was Volkov, and round three was Volkov. Clear for me. Volkov looked very good. Cyril Gahn broke his toe or his foot. I thought they said his foot, but then Joe Rogan was like at the end of saying his toe. So I don't know. But with off like the first low off of the first left kick to the body, Cyril Gahn, I believe, was saying, and Volkov kind of took full advantage of it. It is what it is. If you break your toe on a guy, it's kind of like, oh, that sucks, but come on, like I can't. Things happen in there. You know what I mean? And I thought Volkov came back and won. Like I don't think he was like really out of it. The first round was close, but Gone I thought clearly won. Like a close but clear round for round. Volkov, no, like there's no way he lost that one. I thought that was super weird for me personally. Um, really dumb. But for the rest of the card, we had Bryce Mitchell. He fought Crone Gracie, and in a very boring fight where I thought he was winning, thought he was doing very well, even though he was escaping like an armbar attempt. But every time Bryce clinched up or anything, or I think he every time he I think it was every time he went for the double underhook in the clinch, Crone would just try to pull guard, and so he tried it again, and I saw a frame. Bryce Mitchell brings up his left hand from the underhook and comes over and frames on his head. And I instantly had flashbacks to Jordan Levitt versus Matt Wyman because he did the same thing. And he just boom, boom, basically Arn Anderson spine busters him. Uh, double A. I was throwing up the four, the four horse. uh, Arn Anderson always talks like that. Bryce Mitchell uh, blast him, and you can see afterwards, like Bryce Mitchell slams him, and he's like kind of punching the body. But if you look at Cron Gracie and you realize like what happened, like he just kind of has his arms there because he was out. Like he just like he's in another dimension. He's just huh. Because Bryce Mitchell just kind of pops out easily, starts blasting up some elbows, and it's like, oh yeah, it's over. Like he was out. He was essentially out from the slam. The elbows just put him out like that. Cron Gracie doesn't deserve to be in the UFC, I think, sadly. Um, just way in over his head here. Now we had the opener, which was very fun. Probably my first or second favorite fight of the night. That and the main event were really close for me. Du Ho Choi versus Nate Landwehr. I thought Nate Landwehr was going to make it a really grindy fight, like because you have to take that like really technical guy in like the deep waters. Couldn't do it. Du Ho Choi just lit him up. A lot of cool left shovel hooks and some uppercuts in there off the lead hand. Very fun. And I really liked his striking game. He was wrestling very well, which is something a game aspect of his game I always, never really feel like I see. And he got a crucifix position in round three, hit some elbows, and it was stopped. You know, a good stoppage because the fight prior, Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith, went on for way too long. Anthony Smith recently suffered he's been dealing with the death of his coach and very very close friend. I think he said his best friend. So rest in peace. But dealing with the death, having to take this fight, you probably should have pulled him out of the fight because he didn't look very good. I thought he was going to lose it regardless, but he didn't look very good, and he was kind of like really wanting to feel pain. At one point, he drops his hands like, "Come on, hit me!" And he's just getting lit up. And in round three or round two, excuse me, he's just getting lit up with elbows and punches on the ground, just getting smashed on by Reyes, and they finally call it. It was really bad. Vicente Luque got a very quick anaconda choke that put Thimba Garimbo out cold. Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling should have been on the main card, but it was a boring fight. Evloev does get a win with superior wrestling by unanimous decision. Ryan Battle beat Randy Brown by split decision after missing weight. Eric Anders and Chris Weidman. It was a catch weight because their fight got moved up, but Eric Anders TKOs Weidman in the second round. At the very end, Joshua Van beats Cody Durden by unanimous decision. Michael Chiesa gets a rear naked choke win by domination over Max Griffin. Chase Hooper and Clay Guida went at it. Clay Guida sadly has the unfortunate record of having the most losses in the UFC with a record of 18 and 19. He's been fighting forever. So I think like that's a thing too. To get that far, you have to be employed for a long time, and it's kind of hard to stay employed in the UFC if you're just losing. So it's an unfortunate record, but that's surprisingly has some prestige to it in a weird way to me. Um, but Chase Hooper gets an armbar win over Clay Guida. Kennedy Nshukwu beats Lukasz Brzeski by TKO at the very end of the first round. I like Nshukwu. He's kind of becoming a boy for me because he is very awkward to watch fight, and his punches look like they have no power on them, but they clobber people. It's kind of fun. That's it for me. Once again, I want to say I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. All of y'all are great. We have the greatest fans here at the INC. Anytime I see Volkov fight or talk about RC Aspinall fight, I just get flashbacks to my first ever card, which was out Volkov versus Aspinall. And it's been a fun journey, and I'm super happy to still be a part of the channel, still be a part of y'all's entertainment. And I really appreciate all the love and support we get on this channel. And if you want to support us more, you can always do that on Patreon, where you get exclusive content, uh, all our content, and early content. You can see everything way earlier than that. Like, we just put a new video on the main channel with Paul Craig on our thumbnail. I'm not going to say its name because I don't want to, you know, check it out for yourself. But I saw that much earlier because I saw it on Patreon than a lot of other people did. So that's a bonus because I'm on there as well. I'm also working on some cool things for us for the holiday season as well, like a little gift for all of us here at the INC family. But that's it for me. I'm Joe with the INC. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a good one.